Hi and welcome to Redeye. Today we have CEO Jonas Ehinger from Gapwaves with us to discuss the Q4 report of 2023. Welcome.
Thank you, Rasmus. And like always, great to see you and great to have a conversation with you.
Nice to see you too. So to start off, in your opinion, what is the highs and the lows of the Q4 report?
Specifically for the Q4 report, if we start on the low side, it's of course disappointing sales, which has been a trend throughout the entire last year, and which we have discussed before. That's primarily due to lower sales, of course, as a result from how the projects run and how milestones look and the timing in those projects. And that carries through to the result, which is also lower than previous years. And this has been published in the report, which I'm sure you've studied also. On the highs of last year, specifically in Q4, is of course the announcement of our pilot line production facility. We'll probably get back to that a bit later in this conversation. But also the new order from Hella, a very big order from Hella, which means that our collaboration with Hella is expanding. So we've moved from the first antenna, which is also going into production now in 2024. But we're also working in several other projects with Hella. So I'm really glad to see this as a recognition of that collaboration with Hella and the strategic value that Gapwaves brings to our partners with our antenna technology. And then importantly, and I think we'll get back to that as we discuss more about the kind of the outlook or the future, is the possibility or the execution of setting up representation in China. I'm sure you and everyone else following this market and the automotive segment is aware of what's going on with China, Chinese car manufacturers, and the whole ecosystem in the car industry there, which also includes tier ones and the need for automotive radar systems and very advanced systems on top of that. So I'm really happy to see that fall in place, and also the partnership with Franken, which is also strengthened, which we indicated in the report as well.
And one thing I picked up on in your CEO letter is that you mentioned there's a more cautious stance towards investments within automotive. Can you expand a bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have hard facts yet or objective data on that. It's just a sense that we get from our tier one customers that they indicate that the OEMs are a bit slower to decide on new platforms and new functionality. At the same time, they're also very clear that upcoming legal requirements as well as requirements from Euro NCAP and similar bodies and technical regulation in various markets make it very clear that the use of radar sensors in the automotive industry will increase. There's no way around it. But the timing is becoming delayed, and probably not because the industry is arguing about implementing this functionality in the cars and other vehicles. It's probably other things that need to fall in place as well. Things like the software-defined vehicle, which is a big thing now, and we've seen several very prominent car manufacturers being delayed because of software-related delays or development not falling in place as expected. So I think that combined with a global kind of micro economic climate is causing some caution in the industry. But it's probably just some delays or some hesitancy So we don't see this as a big enough impact to change our plans and our investments and our scale up of the company going forward. Partially because we already have a number of strong contracts and partnerships in place, but also the ones that we're working on to add to our contract book are progressing accordingly to our expectations.
Do you think any of the cautiousness could be from more competition from Chinese automotive manufacturers?
Possibly. Of course, if a car manufacturer is not selling current cars to the same extent as they expected, that will probably trickle down, through the entire system, and future investments will be more scrutinized before they, decide on go or no go or wait, for instance. So, but for us being, tier 2, working with the tier 1s, if one car manufacturer is being cannibalized by a competitor of theirs, it's not necessarily bad for us, because everybody needs to meet the same requirements and customer expectations. So these driver assistance functions will be in the cars, and maybe the Chinese industry is leapfrogging some of the traditional car manufacturers in implementing advanced driver assistance functionality and autonomous driving, or higher levels of it, sooner rather than the traditional industry.
And you mentioned Sensrad and how they are representing you in China. During the quarter, you also contributed about 4 million crowns into Sensrad. Can you tell us a bit more about this investment?
Yeah, Sensrad in Sweden is also in an investment phase. They're in the final phase of commercializing their product with the Gapwaves antenna inside. So it's a very advanced, high-level, state-of-the-art radar sensor for applications outside the traditional automotive industry. So, of course, they're also in an investment phase. So, but that's fully according to plan. And as they launch their commercial product, the Hugin C radar sensor, in the first quarter of this year, where we have expectations on a fairly strong commercial interest from the market segments where Sensrad is active.
But can you just give us a bit more details about what is the financing needs of Sensrad going forward? Like, when can we expect them to be break even, for example?
No, we normally do not disclose those type of numbers, but I think we'll know, and the market will see some traction from Sensrad once they've launched a product and get going on delivering on some contracts that we expect them to win quite soon. So it's almost like for Gapwaves, it's a matter of how you run the company and how quickly you scale up. We think that Sensrad market segments will be more competitive because of lower thresholds to enter into those markets compared to automotive. Within automotive, being a supplier and delivering, both know-how and technology and designs to companies like Bosch and Hella, they have a pretty, solid book of requirements that you need to fulfill and meet. Within Sensrad's market segments, there are not such requirements at least to the same extent. And in some market segments, there are not really any requirements. And that also opens up for more competition or more potential competition. So they need to move faster. So I think it's a topic that we have to revisit together with the majority owner, Camcom, which owns 70%. How quickly we scale up Sensrad.
And as you touched upon, that's obviously a double-edged sword with less longer product cycles with automotive. Takes longer to enter the industry, but also harder for new competitors to enter, and the opposite then for Sensrad. I
Yeah.
thought maybe we can move on a little bit and just can you delve in like why is Sensrad such an important investment for Gapwaves and like how does it fit in with your greater strategy?
Well, for several reasons, and in no specific order, but it's synergistic with Gapwaves because they benefit from our antenna technology. It's a very high-end, advanced radar sensor, and although automotive is not in need of that very strong capability of the sensor right now, if you want to move to level 4 or level 5 autonomous driving functions, you will need very strong perception for the vehicle from the sensors. And as you know, cameras will not alone do the work, and LiDAR will not do the work on its own. So there will be a big need for radar sensors and very capable radar sensors that can provide almost the same level of detail and the same performance as LiDAR, for instance, but not being sensitive to external conditions or weather and dirt and dust, etc. So it's very complementary and synergistic. And in addition, Sensrad also represents an opportunity for Gapwaves to move to a new position in the value chain. Obviously, the antenna is a component of a radar sensor. It's really an important component because without it, no radar sensor will work. But the value of delivering a full-blown product, a complete radar sensor off the shelf, is of course much higher than delivering the component, the antenna in our case. So it's an opportunity for us to move into new market segments, and on top of that, being involved in delivering a full value product and not just a component. Of course, if customers buy the antenna, they still have to design the sensor on their own and buy the chip and the PCBs and the housing. There's a lot of work. The tier ones in automotive, that's what they do. That's their core business, to build and design things, right? In these other segments where Sensrad is active, there are no tier ones in the same way. So there's a market opportunity or a commercial opportunity for Gapwaves and Sensrad to capture this together.
All right, that makes sense. And moving on from Sensrad and more towards your core business within Gapwaves, you got some orders from the fourth undisclosed tier one automotive company. Can you tell us a bit more about this company? Can we expect them to sign an actual agreement in 2024? What can you tell us?
Yeah, it's very high on my to-do list and wish list to sign a long-term supply agreement with this tier one. We've been working with them. I think the first announcement was early last year, and they know Gapwaves now well because we've delivered on those early developments and concepts. And now they've decided to go for a continuation. And of course, we're in discussions regarding a supply long-term agreement for a commercial antenna product. So yes, it's my expectation that we can be in a position to sign such a contract with them this year. And it's one of the top 10, if not even better, tier one companies in the automotive industry within ADAS and ADAS products in the world, and it's a European company also. So much is possible for me to disclose at this point, but it's a very high priority, and I'm sure every shareholder would agree that it's a top priority to sign on another tier one in a long-term agreement to add to the ones we already have.
Definitely. So best case is that they sign this year, is my understanding.
That's correct, but it's there's always two parties to an agreement, or sometimes more. But it's in both parties' interest, and it's also the will of both parties to enter into this agreement as soon as possible.
Is there any other financial goals or targets that you can share with us that Gapwaves have for 2024?
Not in specific numbers. You've asked the question before, and my answer is the same. We're not in a position where we can provide detailed, financial goals or actual numbers in forecasts. However, we expect growth and significant growth for this year. I think also it's not a secret that the first antenna for the automotive industry is going into production this year. It's still, a ramp up, of course, but it's a very important milestone for us, for prospective customers, as well as Hella, as being our current customer and our production partner. Franken. So with everything combined and the momentum that we have right now, then I think it's not a far-reaching guess that we will see significant growth this year.
All right. So to summarize, we can expect the promises that you made start to materialize in 2024. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, in terms of growth. Yes.
All right, perfect. With that, I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.